Welcome to the Budget Mom YouTube channel. I'm Kamiko Love from thebudgetmom.com, and today we're going to be talking all about actual spending versus what you are estimating in your budget to spend. So there is a very critical difference, and it's really super important to know if you are over or under what you budgeted for your spending. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about and showing you what actual versus budgeted spending looks like in the Budget by Paycheck Workbook and why it's so important. So one of the number one questions I get is, what does the budget and actual column mean in the paycheck bill tracker in the Budget by Paycheck Workbook, and why is it important to document this? So when we create our budget, it's essentially that. It's an estimate of what we think we're going to pay for our expenses with our paycheck or our budgeting schedule. The actual column is what you actually spend, or what actually gets pulled out of your checking account for those expenses. So for instance, my rent, I estimate $850. I know that because it's a straight $850 every single month. But what about bills that fluctuate? Bills like, say, my Avista. Now we're looking at my budget for March, but Avista is my utility bill. And as you guys know, utility bills fluctuate from month to month based on the energy usage in your home. So I always recommend with fluctuating bills to budget based on the worst case estimate or the most you think that bill is going to be. You'd rather overestimate than under, so you can make sure you have the money to cover that bill. So in Avista, I had a very unusual circumstance. I was paying for my apartment utilities as well as my home utilities because it was my last month at my apartment and my first month at the new home. So I budgeted and estimated, okay, $350. And I got pretty close. It was $348.50. But let's say, for instance, in an example, what if I budgeted $350 and I only got charged $250? Because we use a zero-based budget, every single dollar of your income has a plan somewhere in your budget. So that would mean that you have essentially $100 that's just sitting in your checking account without a dedicated purpose or plan. And that's really important to know. So have you ever gotten to a point where you see all of a sudden a little bit of extra income in your checking account and you go, oh my gosh, I have extra income, or I have extra money, and you go out and you spend it, and then you realize down the road, oh, well, that could have been better spent towards this financial goal. Or maybe you needed it for an event that's coming up fairly quickly in the next couple of months that you didn't realize or think about. So it's important because you want to make sure that every single dollar of your income has a plan or purpose. And you won't know that until you compare your estimates versus what you're actually needing to spend. Now for me, I pay all of these bills online. And so I leave all these amounts in my checking account. I budget based on the worst case scenario, the highest I think these bills are going to be. So you can see that my bill total for the month of March was $3,167. So that's the amount I leave in my checking account. I have most of my bills on automatic payment, or they come directly out of my checking account. But as you can see, every single time a bill cleared my account, I wrote down what actually cleared, or what I actually paid. What happens is, even though you can see there's just a slight difference in the numbers, they add up. So what I actually spent for my bills was $2,913. That's quite a significant difference. So with my cash envelopes, or my variable spending, before, after paying my bills, I was left with $1,715. But in reality, what had happened, I was left with quite a bit extra, $1,968. So if I bring this down and work it into the rest of my budget, you can see that overall, I have a lot larger leftover amount than what I had currently planned. And then you work it into my sinking funds, and essentially, I'm left over after taking care of my bills, after taking care of my cash envelopes, after taking care of preparing for the future and my financial goals in my personal life, I'm left over with $922 rather than the $269 that I had planned. So I really have $922 left over instead of the $269. Now, you don't really know the difference between your budget and actual spending until the end of the month. For me, because I literally track my spending every single day and I have complete awareness of where all of my dollars is going, I notice some of this savings as the month is going. So essentially because I had such a difference, it allowed me to see right now and notice I have that extra income. It's not just gonna sit in my checking account. I'm gonna make a plan for that money rather than getting down the road and letting that accumulate in your checking account and going, oh, I have some extra money in my checking account, and then you go out and you spend it carelessly. That's happened to me so many times in my life. So what I decided to do is I rolled over some savings that I had in my cash envelopes. I did not use all the cash I pulled out from my cash envelopes. So Kitty, Household, and Beauty got rolled over into the month of April. It got rolled over to the month of April. So that's where some of that savings went. If you look at my March expense tracker, you'll see that on 3/31, I made a decision right then and there when I noticed I had that extra savings. $160 of that went into vacation savings. I found a priority financial goal in my life and I decided to contribute to that. Now, the rest of the savings happens, big portion of it is deciding to whether to roll it over into envelopes or using it for a savings goal. Now, if you're paying off debt, this would be a good opportunity to use that difference in your budget and actual spending to put extra money towards your debt. But the purpose of this budget and actual column is to get you aware of when dollars in your checking account don't have a plan and when they do. Because sometimes you over budget or sometimes you under budget. Now, what happens in this example if I was in red? What if I spent more in my actual column than I did in my budgeting column? Essentially, that means I would be in the red for the month of March. That would then give me an opportunity to make a decision. Okay, do I want to use savings to compensate for being over? And what are my options? What are my choices to compensate for being over? So you're just allowing yourself and giving yourself to bring more financial awareness into your life. So that's a breakdown of what the difference between the budget and actual columns are on the Paycheck Bill Tracker and the Budget by Paycheck Workbook. So very quickly, I did want to mention one of the questions I get with that is on the cash envelope area, down towards the bottom of the Paycheck Bill Tracker for your cash envelopes, is the actual representing what you really spend for the cash envelopes, or does it mean something else? So the actual column for your variable spending or the money you're pulling out for your cash envelopes is the actual amount you spent from that specific cash envelope. So that is the answer to that question. You want to make sure that you know the difference between the cash you pulled out, the full amount that you pulled out for the cash envelope, and the amount you actually spent. So if you found this video helpful, please like it and don't forget to subscribe. I'm gonna get some Pepsi. Okay. So good. The difference between your budget and actual spending until I burped. The Pepsi did it.